Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about how to prep files for letterpress or gold foil printing. So earlier we talked about how to prep files for digital printing, so feel free to check out that video if you haven't yet. But this one is going to be specifically regarding gold foil or letterpress printing. So I have this nice invitation that has this foil gradient on it. And I just have a little gradient that I love that I created that's got a gold foil look to it. So that's how I kind of mock up that look, even though it's not exactly what it's going to look like when it's actually foil pressed. But as you can see, we have a little bit of flat printing too. So all this black text here is going to be flat printed. So what I like to do, because this one has foil and digital printing, we're going to actually need 3 different artboards. So what I'm going to do is just go to the Artboards tool, which is over here, and I'm going to create 3. So if you press Alt and drag over, you get an exact copy of what you had before. So now we have 3 that are exactly the same. Whereas if you try to add a new artboard, and then say you try to do copy and paste, maybe it will work the same, but maybe you'll end up a little bit slightly different, and then you'll have, the gold foil is laid out a little differently. As you can see, this is not exactly centered because visually it doesn't really work with that E. It looks a lot more centered if we do it this way. So we like to create that artboard by using that exact copy tool as opposed to trying and copy and pasting visually. So what we're going to do is we need one artboard that's got everything as it's supposed to look together, and we're calling that Composite. So that's going to be this first one over here. Then we need one artboard that's got all the gold foil and one artboard that's got only all the digital. So we're going to start with this one and just delete that. So now this is all the digital printing that we're going to do. And then we're going to do the opposite here, where we're going to delete all the digital printing and just leave the gold foil. So then this composite picture is just going to be sent to them as a reference, just in case you've set something up a little bit weird, they'll notice exactly what it's supposed to look like. So we can just go ahead and save that one as a composite. So that one's artboard 1. So we can just go ahead and I usually like to use the couple's names, invitation, which is the piece it is, as opposed to reply card or details card. And then I like to put composite. And then we'll save that as a PDF. We'll use the same bleed settings like we talked about in the other tutorial. So use the document bleed settings. My printer does not need trim marks, but you may want to include that just in case. And then we can also get rid of this Illustrator editing capabilities because that'll make the file size a little bit smaller. So then we want to save these guys. So this one, the most important thing is just make sure all those fonts are outlined, which we already did. So that one should be ready to go, and we'll just save that one as also a PDF. So we'll do invitation, and I always put print only. And so the range here will be, that's number 3. Keep the same settings, document bleed settings, no trim marks, but just make sure you ask your printer what they're going to need. And then on the last one, the only thing that we need to do is it's got to be an all black, all K foil, because this is what they're going to make the die out of. So you're going to want to make that black, and you'll make sure that your document color mode is on CMYK mode, and you'll make sure that all the black is 100% K. So sometimes this one, let's see, yeah, this one can be more of a rich black that's got a few different things, but this one is going to be 100% 0C, 0M, 0Y, and 100% K. So that's how they're going to use it to create the die. So you want to go in here, whereas you can use this richer black in order to do the printing, just because it gives a little bit better of a flat printing feel. So now that you have this guy, you're going to want to go ahead and save him as a PDF 2. And I like to label it as I like to label this one as die file, just so there's no confusion at all. And use all the same settings. So this is pretty much the same as it would be with letterpressing. For instance, if we were letterpressing this black stuff in black and then doing this wreath in a different color, say it was going to be blue, that's really pretty, then we would still do the exact same thing. So you just separate by color. So even though they're both letterpress prints, you just would separate, like this is the black print, this is the blue print, but it's still, all of them are going to need to be in that 100% K. So you probably want to change this one to 100% K there. And then you mentioned the Pantone color that you want to use for the letterpressing. You can put that in the file. So when you save the file, you might put, you know, P123 or whatever the Pantone color is that you want the ink to actually be. But the die file still needs to be in that 100% K. But for the sake of creating the dies, it does need to be in a vector format. So if I had just copy and pasted the image of this wreath here, it wouldn't actually work. You actually need to live trace it and make sure it's a vector format with all of these little anchor points here. And if you haven't watched our digitizing video yet, that gives you a lot of information about that. So if you are, for instance, trying to letterpress some of your hand lettering, then you'll just need to make sure you put it into a vector format and digitize it before you do that. Sometimes if you're flat printing, you don't need to vectorize things, because if you write them at the same size that they're going to be printed, you can just get away with using a raster, which is the opposite of a vector. But if you are letterpress printing or gold foil printing, you do need it in a vector format almost all the time. I have not had any printers that didn't request a vector PDF. So that's a little bit about preparing things for letterpress or gold foil print. Again, we have the digitizing tutorial, which will show you how to do that with some letters, but you can use those lessons on other, sketches and drawings and watercolors as well. Then we also have a tutorial on prepping for print for a digital print. So check those all out. Subscribe to our channel. Let us know what questions you have below, and feel free to share this with your friends if you think they might benefit from it too. Thanks everyone for following along.